So read through this question again. Here's a question where the hard part is, can you come up with the two equations? And then once we get our two equations, this time we'll solve it by elimination. Last time we solved a similar question by substitution. We have to decide what our variables are going to be. If you just start writing x and y's and haven't actually thought exactly what those variables mean, then you're going to run into trouble. We need to find the mass of each alloy. So I'm going to choose x as my 50% alloy, and if it's a mass, my value of x will be in grams, right? It's also important to think about units. And then I'm going to have a 25% alloy Y. That's also going to be in grams. It's important not to make x the artist and y the raven, because then it'll be very hard to make this equation. So now we have a certain amount. We're going to need to use a certain amount of this one and a certain amount of this one. What do we know about x plus y? Added together, that's going to be the whole statue, right? How much does the whole statue weigh? Because these are both in grams, the whole statue weighs 625. Now, when something has a 40% silver alloy, that means 40% of the whole object is going to be silver. So how much silver is in the whole object? 250? So when we take 40%, 0.4 of 625, we're going to get 250. That's how much silver is in the whole object. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, 50% of this will be silver, and 25% of this will be silver. So if we write an equation that's just thinking about silver, the silver out of the first one will be 0.5 times x, and the silver out of the second one will be 0.25 times y. And we need the whole thing silver, which we already figured out was 250, is going to be 0.4 of 625. This is my equation 1. This is my equation 2. I'm going to multiply equation 2 by something. Do you want to work with decimals or no decimals? No decimals? You're fine with decimals? If you cancel out y, you'll have no decimals. If you cancel out x's, you'll still have decimals. You want to cancel out the y? What would I need to multiply this one by in order to be equal to 1? 4. And if I wanted the signs different, I'd have to multiply everything here by a negative 4. So equation 1 is still x plus y equals 625. Equation 2, when I multiply 0.5 by a negative 4, I'm going to get negative 2x. 0.25 by negative 4, that gives us the negative y. And we knew that 0.4 times 625 was 250, times by a negative 4 will be negative 1,000. Add our equations up. X plus a negative 2x will give me negative x. The y's get eliminated when you add them up. And so we need 375 grams of the 50% alloy. And using equation 1, since it's a word problem, we'll end it with a sentence. So we need 375 grams of the 50% alloy and 250 grams of the 25% alloy. Just a little check. 40%, is that closer to 50% or 25%? It's closer to the 50. So one thing you can do is sort of just a mental math, somewhat of a check. You know that your answer, you should use more of the 50% alloy than the 25% alloy because it needs to be 40% is closer to 50%. So it just sort of gives you a little heads up of, have I labeled things right? Because sometimes when you write this down, you might have mixed up X and Y, so that can help you. Okay, here's your homework.